She was not the kind of woman who followed people. Daniel turned a corner, stopping near a run-down building on the outskirts of town. A woman emerged from the shadows, a woman Victoria recognized instantly. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone and hit record, capturing every word. Victoria walked out of the parking garage, her mind spinning, her pulse roaring in her ears. She sat at her desk, opening her laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard as she pulled up the company's financial records. Her lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. Victoria arrived at the office earlier than usual the next morning. A burning wave of fury washed over her. Her hands clenched into fists. Not today. Not ever. She strained to hear their conversation. It took less than an hour for her to spot the discrepancies. She typed back a single word. Then she sent another message, to a private investigator she had worked with in the past. She drove home in silence, her mind working faster than ever. Her stomach twisted, a sickening mixture of rage and disgust curling inside her. She clicked on Daniel's personnel file. Her lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. The investigator had already sent a preliminary report. A burning wave of fury washed over her. Her hands clenched into fists. Not today. Not ever. She strained to hear their conversation. It took less than an hour for her to spot the discrepancies. She typed back a single word. Then she sent another message, to a private investigator she had worked with in the past. She drove home in silence, her mind working faster than ever. Her stomach twisted, a sickening mixture of rage and disgust curling inside her. She clicked on Daniel's personnel file. Her lips curled into a slow, dangerous smile. The investigator had already sent a preliminary report. She clicked on it, her heart pounding as she skimmed through the details. Meetings, phone calls, transactions, proof. Daniel and Claire had been working together for months, slowly siphoning money out of Sinclair Capital under fake vendor contracts. They had covered their tracks well enough that if she hadn't caught them last night, they might have gotten away with it. A burning wave of fury washed over her. She had built this company from nothing. She had sacrificed her personal life, her relationships, her sanity to make Sinclair Capital what it was today. And Daniel? She had given him everything. And in return, he had tried to gut her empire from the inside. Her hands clenched into fists. Not today. Not ever. She clicked on another email from her legal team, confirming what she had already suspected. Daniel's contract was ironclad. If she wanted to, she could fire him immediately with no warning, no severance, no way for him to fight back. But that wasn't enough. Daniel had played a long game against her. He had plotted in secret, stolen in silence. If she wanted to truly make him suffer, she had to make sure his fall was public, humiliating, and irreversible. The phone on her desk rang. She picked it up, her voice cool and composed. Yes. It's Daniel, her assistant said. He's asking if you're available this morning. Says it's urgent. Victoria smiled. Perfect. Tell him to meet me in the conference room at 10, she said. And make sure Claire Morgan is informed as well. I want her there. There was a slight hesitation. Should I invite legal? No, Victoria said smoothly. Not yet. She wanted to see their faces first. By the time 10 o'clock arrived, the conference room was filled with a thick, almost suffocating tension. Victoria sat at the head of the long glass table, her expression unreadable, hands folded neatly in front of her. Across from her sat Daniel, his usual confident demeanor replaced with nervous energy. His fingers tapped against the table, his smile forced. And next to him, Claire Morgan, elegant as always, though there was a sharpness in her eyes. She knew something was wrong. Victoria let the silence stretch just long enough to make them sweat before she finally spoke. I appreciate you both coming on such short notice. Daniel chuckled nervously. Of course. Is everything okay? She tilted her head slightly, studying him. That's an interesting question, Daniel. Why wouldn't everything be okay? He faltered, shifting in his seat. Claire, however, didn't blink. She leaned forward slightly, a practiced smile on her lips. We're both very busy, Victoria, she said smoothly. If this is about the next quarter's performance, I believe we already. It's not, Victoria interrupted, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Claire froze. Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. She placed it on the table, sliding it across to Daniel. Go ahead, she said. Open it. Daniel hesitated before finally flipping it open. As his eyes moved over the documents inside, all the color drained from his face. Claire's lips pressed into a thin line, her fingers curling slightly against the table. Victoria leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. I assume I don't need to explain what you're looking at. Daniel swallowed hard. Victoria, You stole from me. Her voice was cold, steady. You manipulated company funds, created fraudulent vendors, funneled money into Claire's accounts. And then you had the audacity to sit across from me, day after day, and pretend to be loyal. Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. His throat bobbed as he tried to swallow the panic rising inside him. Claire, on the other hand, regained her composure faster. She sat back in her chair, crossing her legs, her expression calm. This is a bold accusation, she said. One I assume you don't have actual evidence to back up. Victoria smiled. She reached into her bag again, this time pulling out her phone. With a single tap, the recording from the alley played. Daniel's voice. Claire's voice. Every single word. Claire's composure cracked. Daniel, meanwhile, looked like he was about to pass out. His hands were trembling as he closed the folder, sweat forming at his temples. Victoria, I didn't. Save it. She stood, straightening her jacket. You're fired, Daniel. Effective immediately. His breath hitched. Wait. There's no wait. Her voice remained icy. You signed an employment contract that explicitly forbids working with competitors. That alone is enough for immediate termination. Claire turned to him sharply, her mask of calm slipping. You signed something like that? Daniel didn't answer. He was too busy staring at Victoria like a deer caught in headlights. Security is on their way to escort you out, she continued. Your access to the system has already been revoked. Don't bother trying to contact anyone here again. Daniel's chest rose and fell rapidly, panic taking full control now. Victoria, please, I didn't mean. You meant every word. The conference room doors swung open and 2 security guards stepped inside. Daniel turned to Claire, desperation in his eyes. Claire, say something. You said you'd? I said I'd consider it, Claire said, already standing. She adjusted her blazer, her expression smooth again. But I don't work with failures. And just like that, she walked out, leaving him behind. The betrayal hit him like a physical blow. Victoria watched as security pulled Daniel to his feet. He turned to her, his face crumbling, his voice breaking. I gave you years of my life. Doesn't that mean anything? She tilted her head. It meant something, she said softly. Until you threw it away. And with that he was gone. Victoria let out a slow breath, her heart still pounding. It was over. No, not yet. She turned, walking back to her office. Claire had walked away today. But she wouldn't get far. Victoria wasn't done yet. Victoria watched from her office window as security escorted Daniel out of the building. His steps were unsteady, his shoulders slumped as if the weight of his own downfall had finally crushed him. The confident, charming man who had once strolled through these halls like he owned the place was gone, replaced by a broken shell of himself. But she felt no satisfaction. Not yet. Daniel was only half the problem. Claire had walked away too easily, too calmly. Victoria knew women like her, calculating, ruthless, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Claire wouldn't crumble like Daniel. She would adapt. She would strike back. And Victoria wasn't about to give her that chance. She turned from the window, grabbed her phone, and dialed a number she hadn't used in years. A deep voice answered after the second ring. Didn't think I'd hear from you again. Victoria smiled slightly. I need a favor. Hours later, Victoria walked into an exclusive rooftop restaurant, the kind of place where deals worth millions were whispered over glasses of 100-year-old wine. Claire was already waiting for her at a private table, a smirk playing on her lips. She had changed out of her office attire into an elegant dress, as if she hadn't just walked out of a disaster of her own making. Victoria, Claire purred, swirling a glass of wine in her hand. I was wondering how long it would take for you to come looking for me. Victoria slid into the chair across from her, crossing her legs and folding her hands neatly on the table. You walked away from Daniel pretty quickly. Claire let out a soft laugh. Oh darling. Men like him are meant to be stepping stones. Did you really think I was stupid enough to rely on him? Victoria tilted her head slightly. You sound confident. Claire leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Because I know how this game is played. You may have humiliated Daniel, but I was never in your company. There's nothing tying me to any of this. And you? You got your little revenge. But I always land on my feet. Victoria smiled. Not this time. Claire frowned slightly, her grip tightening around her wine glass. Victoria pulled out her phone and placed it on the table. With a single tap, a video played. It wasn't the alley recording, it was something much worse. Security footage from a luxury hotel. Claire stepping into a private suite. A married billionaire CEO following right behind her. Their faces were clear. Their movements unmistakable. Claire went completely still. Victoria sat back, watching as the color drained from the other woman's face. "Did you really think I wouldn't find something on you?" Claire's voice was tight. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Victoria's smile didn't waver. "I know exactly who I'm messing with. The question is, do you?" She tapped the phone again. A new screen appeared, an email draft, addressed to every major news outlet. One more tap and Claire's career, her reputation, her entire carefully constructed life would be over. Claire's breathing was shallow now, her knuckles white against the table. "What do you want?" she finally asked. Victoria leaned in, her voice low. "Disappear. Quietly. If I hear your name in my industry again, I hit send." A tense silence stretched between them. Then after a long moment, Claire exhaled sharply, her body stiff as she reached for her purse. "You're ruthless," she muttered, standing. Victoria smiled. "You taught me well." Without another word, Claire turned and walked away. Victoria watched her go, knowing she would never see her again. And for the first time in a long time she felt at peace. Victoria sat at the rooftop table for a long moment after Claire disappeared into the night. The city stretched out before her, glittering with lights, alive with the hum of ambition, secrets and silent battles. But tonight she wasn't just another player in the game. Tonight she had won. She picked up her glass of wine, letting the smooth richness settle on her tongue before swallowing. There was no gloating satisfaction, no rush of triumph, just a quiet certainty that this chapter was closed. Claire was gone. Daniel was finished. And she was free. Victoria left the restaurant and stepped into the waiting car, instructing the driver to take her home. The streets blurred past as she leaned against the cool leather seat, exhaustion creeping into her bones. Not just from tonight, but from years of fighting battles she never should have had to fight. She thought of herself years ago. My trusting, open. That girl had been shattered a long time ago. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to stay that way. Her mind drifted to Alex, the employee she had once dismissed without a second thought. The one whose pain mirrored her own, whose resilience had reminded her of something she had forgotten. The next morning she arrived at the office earlier than usual. She had no doubt that whispers had already spread, about Daniel's disgrace, about Claire's disappearance. But today the gossip didn't matter. Victoria walked past the rows of desks, pausing at Alex's workspace. The young woman looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. "I owe you an apology," Victoria said simply. Alex blinked as if unsure she had heard correctly. "For not seeing you," Victoria continued. "For not valuing you the way I should have." Alex hesitated. Then slowly she nodded. "Thank you." Victoria met her gaze. "I want you to take Daniel's position." Alex's breath hitched. You mean? You earned it." For the first time in a long time, Victoria saw something familiar in someone else's eyes. Belief. Hope. And it was then that she realized something. All this time she had been fighting to prove herself. To them. To the men who had dismissed her, to the people who had tried to use her, to the world that had told her she would never be enough. But none of them mattered. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. She had already won. And not just against Claire. Not just against Daniel. She had won against the version of herself that once doubted her own worth. Victoria exhaled, feeling lighter than she had in years. Maybe revenge had cleared the path. But forgiveness, of herself, of the past, was what would let her move forward.